Yeah.
Yeah, it works. The thing that I wanted to discuss, I think I already told you about.
Yeah.
So first of all, can you describe a little bit the situation that we're in here in the studio? The sounds that we're hearing, the clicks.
Well, at the moment it is the 25th of January. It's almost 3:30 in the day.
Yeah.
It's fairly quiet in the studio as the finals for the studio have pretty much concluded. So we can. There's a few people still hanging around. I don't know, doing some stuff that isn't necessarily related to school, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. To start with, I mean, I think I never asked you clearly about it, but like the big question is, how did you end up here? I know that you're an exchange student, and you already completed one semester here.
Yeah. So where do I start? I guess I have, throughout my studies of architecture, I have always wanted to do an exchange year somewhere. I didn't necessarily ever know where it was. I mean, I did have some sort of idea. Since I was like maybe 18, 19, I always wanted to live in Italy for personal reasons, just because I just liked the place very much. So yeah, I think at some point I definitely did want to go to Italy as well. So I think I also decided to do my exchange year after my bachelor's. That was also kind of a concrete sort of idea that I had. So after my third year of studies in architecture, or like the final year of bachelor's, I applied for 3 different schools. I don't remember what the schools necessarily were, but I do remember that Angevandse was one of them, then Aarhus, the one in Denmark, and then I think my third option was Aho, the school in Oslo, in Norway.
Really fancy this Scandinavian.
And as you might have noticed, there isn't Italy on the list, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was also partly because there wasn't a partner contract with our school and with a school in Italy. Oh no, actually there was. I am now starting to remember things.
Cool.
I think I actually had the Polytechnic School of Milan.
Polyme.
Yeah, exactly, that one as well on one of my lists.
Only as an exchange, or you want?
As an exchange, yeah. But for some reason I think that fell out, and then I had to replace that with Aho. something along the lines. And then I was quite unsure which of the schools I should put first then, because the one that you put in first place, that is, you know, if you put it in first place, then it's kind of sure that your school will allocate a place for you to do an exchange there, right? So if that's your third preference, then it's a bit less likely to get in, right? And then I wasn't really sure what school to put first, but I think I put Vienna as the first one. Partly because during the application process, me and my friend Martin, who is in the second studio now, right, also doing an exchange, me and him did a short little trip here, and then we fell in love with the place.
With the city?
With the city itself, yeah. We didn't really know anything about the school, to be honest, but we both really liked the city and thought, okay, this would be a very nice, you know, city to study in.
Cool, yeah. I totally get you, because I've experienced it kind of the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been here before I moved in. The city was my first attraction to apply. And so after you found out that there is this institution called Angewandte, or you already knew about it, did you do some researches about the approaches of the studios, or how they're mainly doing?
Yeah. When during the application process, we also, when we were kind of greenlit by our school to then apply to those you know, other schools in other countries, and during Angewandte's kind of application process, we had to specify which of the studios that we want to get into. And then I kind of read up on all of the curricula, and then I think Studio One's sort of approach to architecture spoke to me the most at that time. So me and that was the same with Martin as well. So we both applied to Studio One, and then we didn't get in. And I also didn't get into Aarhus. And I really didn't want to go to Oslo, to be honest. And
why?
I don't know why. I don't know why.
You didn't feel it.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't feel it, and to be honest, Norway is really expensive. And then, for me at least, I felt like the whole world kind of collapsed, because, you know, I kind of planned this, you know, after my bachelor's, I will go do this and that, and I think in my life things have, you know, come to me quite easily, or like I plan it and then it comes, you know. And when there's like a hiccup, then it's like the world has just kind of ended, right? But a friend of mine told me that it's just fate. And then I stayed another year in Estonia doing my first year of masters, and then I applied again to, I think this time Angewandte I put as in my first preference. Sapienza was second. This is the part where Italy comes back.
Yeah.
The story. And then third, I think a third school I picked was the school in Stockholm. I think it was like a technical, Royal Technical University or something. And then I had the same sort of moment. I didn't know what to put as my first school of preference. I thought, okay, Angewandte would definitely be a better choice academically, but then again, I've always wanted to live in Italy, and now I'd have the opportunity to live in Rome for a year, which would be amazing. But then again, it's not a very good choice, maybe academically. And then I thought, okay, but I'm also kind of burned out from architecture, so whatever, I'll just go to Rome for a year and just go to exhibitions and pretty much do nothing. and kind of prepare myself for the masterpieces that would wait for me back home. But then I thought, yeah, but I can always go to Italy. I can, always take a gap year or something. I think this is the time I really have to kind of refine my love of architecture, because I was burned out, right? So I decided for coming to Vienna, and then I got in, and I was so happy.
Yeah. How did you? What drove you toward applying to this studio?
Well, I didn't really apply for this studio, to be honest. As I said, I applied for Studio One.
Yeah, but you said you.
Yeah, that was the previous year, but I also applied for Studio One this year.
Oh, so you did it again?
Yeah.
For the Studio One?
Yeah, and so did Martin for Studio One. So twice, 2 years in a row, right?
But right now, none of you are in that studio.
No. So it was kind of a surprise. I think we got like a email a week before coming to Vienna that your studios have changed.
Oh, cool.
And then we were a bit confused, maybe a bit disappointed, because we applied for something and then we just
they offered you another thing.
Then didn't really offer. They just said, "Oh, you're now in this."
They dictated you.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm not getting the thing that I want.
Yeah.
But I think for me at least, I was very lucky. This is kind of fate as well, because the sort of curriculum of Studio Jacob is very fitting for me. And I guess I'm still in a phase of trying to find my own sort of language of design.
Yeah.
And I would say that what we're taught here in Studio Jacob is something I have been kind of internalizing, or something I have been thinking about, and something that really fits me. Because I was actually looking back at one of my things that I designed for a classmate. It was for a music festival. And I pretty much, he commissioned me to do 2 installations for the music festival, and what I did was I just took elements of the music festival's graphic design, which was like a cassette, like a music cassette, and then a disco ball, and then I just made them into very simple sort of like architecture installations, like very simple sort of timber, timber trusses, slats.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a very simple thing. And that is like a very sort of Sam Jacoby approach.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like very postmodern, I think I quite like this sort of newfound life that postmodernism is getting. It's like, architecture shouldn't be. It is a very serious topic, and in the end, you are, designing spaces for people that need to use it. So you still have to, think about that and be serious about that. But it's also an art. And art is for the people.
Yeah.
You have to kind of entertain them in a sense.
Entertain them.
And I think when you become this sort of stereotypical architect who only wears black. I also wear black. But it becomes very snobbish about things and serious. Then I don't think that's really good.
Yeah, I feel you totally. But first that you got here, because that Sam is like he replaced Honey. Honey used to be here for a long time, like I think 12 years. And then this change of administration had its own challenges. And did you first during the first weeks? Did you really feel any kind of challenge in order to grasp the idea or the approach of the studio, or what Sam is trying to express, what Sam is trying to teach? Because I remember we all had that kind of, I don't want to call it a struggle because it was not that much struggle, but it was a bit of challenge, let's say.
In some ways, I definitely felt not necessarily a struggle, but I was a little bit confused.
Yeah, confusion. That's
I was, for example, the studio started with the Alphabet City, right?
Exactly.
And our task was just to go out and take photos of letters, essentially, right? And I didn't necessarily understand why I was doing it, but I thought, okay, maybe it's just a fun exercise. Let's see where this will go, and I will just trust the process. And then when Sam kind of had this brief at the end of or like a debrief then, or just saying his final thoughts about the thing, or kind of saying what the purpose of the task was, then I really understood, wow, okay, this is actually like really architectural. That we are constantly, as a designer, we're constantly in a space that has been designed by someone, and we're looking at it maybe subconsciously and picking up on things, and then we're kind of maybe integrating that into our own designs without maybe even thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe even consciously, right? So it's really interesting to see how new stuff in architecture comes about from all sorts of references. And I think there's certainly a lot of people who are afraid of looking at Pinterest or whatever for inspiration, because then they feel that maybe they will just do a copy of someone's work.
Second hand.
Yeah, exactly. So that it's not necessarily their own sort of original thing. But I don't think we should fear that. I think we should kind of, in the end, you're going to do your own design, and you're going to adapt ideas, which will make it a new idea. And then it's not a copy. It's bringing something new to the table, I think. So I guess just this synthesis of, and this sort of line of succession for a thing to transform into new things is really interesting to look at. But like coming back to this sort of confusion regarding the administration side, I mean, as like a, I can consider myself as like a first year student in Sam Jacobs' studio, and I didn't have any sort of experience what Rashid's studio was, so I don't have that sort of comparison. For me, it's just I'm here to do stuff, and I'm not comparing anything that was before me. So and as an exchange student as well, I would say that it was hard for me to say how the studio should be run, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm in the process, but it doesn't, in the lack of better words, it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just gonna go right back home. So I kind of understood every co-student's or like studio mate's worries about the studio totally. But I felt like it wasn't I didn't have to say anything, right?
But I mean, the reason that I am concerned with this question is that because I think as they themselves, the whole IOA administration, say is that we're moving on from the star architects towards a new generation or a new approach of architecture in our institution. So for me, I'm really curious to know what kind of approach they're going to integrate or implement to this. What are they going to do? Because we all know that the other two studios, Gregman's studio and Efren and Christina, are going to be gone
in the next semester, and we don't know yet who are going to replace them, but we can speculate about what's going to happen, because we know that the approach of the studios are going to remain as they were, but the new professors are going to bring new ideas, new ways of teaching and studying things, looking at different phenomena. So myself, I was really concerned to know about this or even speculate about them. And I want to ask you, how do you see this? Like, let's say after the next semester that you're going to leave here, sadly.
Who knows? Maybe I'll stay.
Hopefully, I will be glad. Yeah, we had this amazing experience of working together as a group this semester, and I really hope that if there is anything that you can do about it, so you can do. And yeah, so how do you see, like, how do you imagine this place in, let's say, when by the time you're about to graduate?
Well, I do think that the age of like starchitects is definitely over. For me, architecture has always been a very cross-disciplinary and just a cross-disciplinary thing and a very collaborative thing. It's like, we are constantly talking with, interior designers, industrial designers, artists, graphic designers, people who aren't necessarily directly related to architecture, but maybe in a more distant way, everything can boil down to architecture, right? So I don't feel like being a star architect and then kind of putting all of that collaborative work under your own name is any good. For example, the art academy that I'm studying in, the new building was almost finished now 10 years ago. No, sorry, less. 5. The project was done 10 years ago almost, but the new building was completed like 5 years ago now. And in the team there was, your 3 architects and the philosopher, which is really interesting, right? That a philosopher can also work in the design of buildings, and that's what deconstructivists did as well. Right? Eisenman and people were really interested in Derrida's works, right? So I think it's really important to kind of mention the work of other people as well, and I think architecture today is just a very collaborative thing. You're in talks with when you're designing like a public building or something in a housing district, that you might talk to the local people to see what they're thinking.
Social studies. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's an all-encompassing thing, and there are so many people related to the process. Everyone. Of course, maybe it's sad to see a time go, but then again, there's this like very cheesy saying that don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. It's sad that we won't be these famous, cool people that will be on like, I don't know, let's say on the cover of like Vogue magazine or something, like Rem Koolhaas looking very serious with a turtleneck or something. Oh, look at him, he's very cool. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a person as well who doesn't have a very big desire to be on the cover of magazines or something. But I still do think that the age of like architects is over.
Yeah, me too. So in general, I don't want to really compare this place to like the place that you were studying before. You're studying in Tallinn, right?
Yeah.
So, but let's say if you go back, what are the things that you miss the most, apart from people, of course?
Like miss about Estonia or the studies?
No, studies here. If you go back to Tallinn.
Oh. Well, I will definitely miss. Well, first of all, I have to mention this. I will miss the people. I will miss my own personal desk.
Yeah, that's a real advantage to this studio.
I mean, that's, there's a lot of politics behind our school being so small.
Because I've heard it's not like a viral thing in all the schools to have your own desk.
I think it depends on the school. Depends on the size of them. I think if you have enough space, then they will definitely probably allow people to have their own desks. I feel like this is like a good sort of way of training yourself for the future. You're in this sort of big office behind your own desk, working on something. Maybe you have like a picture of your family in the corner as well on the desk with something.
Cubicle?
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, these are like small things that I will miss. But I will definitely, miss the sort of. I mean, this is also related to the specific studio that we're in, but I will miss this sort of fun approach to architecture. And because we're in school, we're kind of allowed to go that sort of extra mile to make things crazy, which is okay. But then again, back home, I won't have any sort of studios going on. I will just have the master thesis, and for my master thesis, I can do something fun, right? But then again, I feel at times that the architecture in Estonia is super serious, like compared to here. Which is also, it's not bad, right?
I think it is like that in most of the places.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad.
No, it's not bad, but this is a total different approach to be playful in architecture.
Of course. But yeah, I would definitely miss the sort of fun thing, and I would kind of hope that I would bring this fun back to Estonia as well, and try to do something fun. I can already imagine being in the auditorium or in that sort of grey classroom that we have, and all of the professors with their black turtlenecks being all serious, and I don't really understand the concept. Which is okay. But then again, I would say that our level of architecture is pretty good. And I think we might even need to have a sense of seriousness, because we're such a small country, and I think we have to be rational with our resources. And we don't have that many resources as well, right? So we have to be kind of serious about it. It's like, okay, we will now do 5 apartment buildings. Let's do 5 apartment buildings. I mean, of course, you can have some sort of cool architectural moments going on there, or have a bit of fun, but in the end, we're still a very sort of neoliberal country where money and the Excel sheets are our thing. And I guess, because our sort of understanding of space within, cohorts who aren't architects, just regular old people, I would say the understanding of space is really poor, and that kind of might stem from the Soviet times.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we have to be serious about that, and maybe being serious about it will help other people or like the non-architects understand that this is a serious topic, right? And we have to make these changes to make our lives better. Because,
to find a new language.
Exactly. It's, for example, we in Estonia, we don't have like a sort of central organization for planning. I mean, there are
like urban development.
Yeah, there isn't like one for specifically for like urban development or dedicated to space in general. Because if I'm not mistaken, the sort of design of space is delegated a lot by the highway sort of ministry. Yeah. Not the Ministry of Highways, but like the sort of
road.
No, what would you call it? It's like a government sort of thing. It's not a ministry, but it's just some sort of office.
Yeah, for us it's called like road and urban development or road and city building, something like that.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, it's just some sort of governmental organization, right? And they are in charge of the space, so you can already tell that it's going to be very car-centric if the people who are working on like roads and highways are designing the space. I mean, there's for the last like 20 plus years there has been like this big discussion: should we build like a 2+2 highway from Tallinn to Tartu, which is the second biggest city, and they're currently building it in stages. But the thing about that is that it's, well, obviously highways are very car-centric, but then again, it's cutting through existing villages, and public transport needs to be organized around those roads as well. And the roads do have bus stops for regional lines, but the bus stops are not necessarily in logical places, or the bus stops are very hard to get to, and that's why we need a sort of governmental organization that is only dedicated to like urban planning and sort of dealing with questions about space in general.
Hope for a better future then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because we did have like a election, I think it was 2 years ago now, or no, last year, recently, and we got a somewhat of a liberal government, and they, in the coalition sort of agreement, it was written that they will now create a sort of organization for dealing with space in general, but I think it hasn't
materialized yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a big deficit with money and stuff, like always, right?
Always.
And there's currently a strike going on. The teachers have been striking for like 3 days or something. Because the pay has stayed same for I don't know how long, and the cost of living in Estonia has just skyrocketed. So it's as expensive or more expensive to live in as Finland, and then we get the same pay as like Latvia or something. So it's a wonderful place to live in.
Yeah. You have to know the context in order to understand this joke, but yeah, I can get it.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I definitely do imagine my life at some point going back to Estonia and even dying there. Let's say.
Too soon to talk about.
Yeah, it's way too soon. Okay, I mean, I also thought about retiring in like a French or Italian sort of winery or something.
Oh,
just
cool!
Sit there.
You already planned it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do at some point, but Yeah, it's
But I think, because of climate change, I can just do a winery. In Estonia, right? Actually, Estonia was declared a wine, like a grape wine growing, or just a wine producing country quite recently. I think like last year or 2 years ago or something.
Really?
Yeah. So
Like,
now,
do you export?
no, I don't think we produce any good wines yet. It's
We need a ministry for that as well.
We need a ministry for wine. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, as always, it was a really joyful discussion. Let's call it a good discussion.
Yeah.
Let's have it tomorrow. I
Thank
think
you.
I'm gonna name this a good discussion. Let's have it tomorrow. That will be perfect.
I think it's too long.
Yeah, but who cares?
So you should shorten it to like an acronym or something.
Yeah, maybe.
GDLT. No, GDLDT.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's also not very good, to be honest.
It will annoy the audience. If there would be any audience.
Welcome to another episode of GDLDT.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Of course,
Thank you
thank you,
really much.
Irfan.
That was great.